Imagine it's a late summer night, soft rain hitting the roof of your house, and you're booting up your Xbox 360 to play this newly released game that's the talk of Reddit, 4chan, and the school lunch tables. That game being the most iconic game of all time, Minecraft. And it wasn't just iconic for the short little blurb upon the release of home consoles, but it's managed to have itself in millions, if not billions of conversations in its beginning since 2011. Minecraft, of course, wasn't the only game to be of high praise though. There were some before and many to come after it. One of those games was Terraria, which is impossible to not acknowledge as a worldwide sensation to the likes that Minecraft had. It seems insane to compare these two games and their systems, but I believe there's a worthy discussion to be had here, and that discussion is about creative freedom and what it means for a game's grasp it has on the player. Take Minecraft for example. I don't think there's ever been a game that sunk its nails into a generation more than this game did. And I believe that's credited to the absolutely colossal amount of creative freedom games like this offer you. I mean, it's literally in the name. You mine stuff and then you craft these huge structures. Now on paper, that doesn't seem too deep, but it's one of those things where it's really what you make it. For example, maybe creative freedom to you is making these huge complex redstone structures, or maybe it's building your maxed out gear. I know that's what I love to do when I played Minecraft religiously. Regardless, Minecraft is one of those games that you can never really get over no matter how many times you think you're over it. I've always found that interesting. These games like Minecraft and Terraria give you so much substance it's almost impossible to get away from them for good. What's usually on my mind whenever I get hooked on these games again, however, is something as simple as why. Why does this creative freedom allow for such longevity within a game? Well, as someone who believes firmly in the scientific method, I've decided to crack down on this very niche video game enigma, and the best way I think to solve this would be to work backwards. Shooter games are pretty self-explanatory. You're placed into a world as a character and you fight either other players or just AI. Despite this, games like this typically don't last too long, and I don't think that's credited to the lack of passion put into these projects, but rather the lack of new experiences. Just look at a long-running game like Team Fortress 2 in its current state. With the lack of new content, the game has become stale for many players, including myself. This is mainly accredited to the lack of any sort of new experiences. I mean, TF2 clearly has so much love and care put behind it. Maybe not in its current state, but definitely everything leading up to its quality decline in 2017, and eventual hiatus and everything past 2018. That's not what this really is about though. This is about how a fanbase ran out of creativity because all of it was sucked out of the game due to the lack of new things to dissect. While I love TF2 to my deepest core, it's impossible to not admit that the game's lacking in new content to experiment with, or get creative with, because nearly everything has been tested, examined, and done. Although TF2 itself lacks in creative freedom now, there's more recent games that have concepts like old TF2 did. For an example of this, look no further than something that was a craze pretty recently, that being Fortnite. The real kicker of this game was the building that you could do, making the game more dynamic than the typical shooter game that would have you utilize your surroundings, otherwise meaning you could only use what was there. This was literally the most innovative thing that anyone had thought of in this space. Not only this, but Fortnite also allowed you to play around with these structures you made by the means of editing them, which opened up a whole new gateway for players to experiment with, for better or for worse. I mentioned these two shooter games to demonstrate that creative freedom, or the lack thereof, isn't relegated to cutesy games like Minecraft, but if done right, it can be implemented into any well-mapped game, even something as potentially gruesome as a realistic FPS due to its wide net. There's something missing from this conversation though. What allows these games to work as long as they do? Well, I suspect it's something to do with constant things being added, but that's not anything anyone didn't know. I mean, I guess Fortnite adds new guns and mechanics, but nothing integral to their building system has changed for a long time, and that's what really matters in this discussion. Regardless, for this question, I'd rather look at a more well-versed game. Terraria is similar to Minecraft, other than the fact you fight eldritch gods of course. But other than that, this game is again very similar. You can build or you can destroy, and after thinking about it, I think Terraria works especially well with this creative freedom idea because of the linear progression that allows for more intricate freedoms or builds. To be more specific, when you enter the game's hard mode by killing the final boss of normal mode, there's many new ores that spawn throughout the world, and these ores allow you to craft better gear, which in turn allows you to make cooler things. And as I previously mentioned at the start, maybe creative freedom to you is making these huge complex redstone structures, or maybe it's building your maxed out gear. So yeah, You can find your own creative freedom in anything as simple as building an armor set. This is especially exemplified when you look at how much cooler Terraria's armor and weapons get after you enter the set hard mode. I mean, take a glance at the fucking pumpkin armor next to the titanium armor, and don't even try to pretend pumpkin begins to look cooler. Even then though, this whole armor shtick isn't what you see on your character half the time, because there's a slot that completely overtakes the visual part of your character. The vanity slot provides you with a cosmetic overdrive that allows you to completely revamp the typical armor set, and it makes the game just that little bit more fun, especially with how goofy these sets can get. There's something just so personal about these games, and I think we ought to address that. More specifically, we need to take a deeper dive into the rabbit hole by looking at fulfillment from creative freedom. There's something that feels so sinister when you leave a Minecraft world, especially one you've worked on for months, hell, even years. I believe that's credited to the hundreds of ideas you probably let go through your time playing, almost like you have unfinished business. I remember in early 2022, I spent every chance I got playing on a friend's Minecraft server, and one day my base got griefed. I could care less about that now, but what's upsetting is the plans I had for that base to keep expanding off of it. Let's expand off of this idea though. If you've ever been in a music class, I'm sure you've played a scale. And if you're not aware, that's just notes going up until you hit the higher note that you originally started on. But if you don't hit that note, the tonic note, it feels like the scale's missing something integral, like you're building up to something that never happened. And this is basically what I'm getting at with this Minecraft example. I had spent months building this base just for it to be nullified by that last bit that I needed not being there. This could most definitely be applied to a game like Terraria. Imagine you've been in a solo world, playing every day after school, and you finally get the gear where you want to fight the last boss, the Moon Lord. But something happens. Your profile gets corrupted and you miss out on that tonic note, constructing that sense of emptiness and overall unfulfillment. Let's not beat around the bush though. Let's give you the tonic note of this video and put all of this experiment together. And to put it all together, I'd like to answer my original question. Why does creative freedom work the way it does? And after my scientific methoding, I think I finally cracked the code. You see, with the creative freedom most games allow for, it gives you an infinite amount of stuff to do. This is what makes TF2 so exciting when new weapons got added. It gave you a surplus of new things to test out and chew on. Same thing can be applied with Minecraft in its current state, especially with an update like the Nether update, which added a much needed new layer of depth to PvP and progression as a whole concept. The creative freedom in this being the fact that you're able to mess around with these new mechanics. Don't be fooled though, as creative freedom still goes deeper than this. Take a closer look at the last Minecraft world you played. Was there anything you yourself never got to do? And if there was, I totally bet that you feel sad about the fact you never did that thing. The implication of creative freedom in this would be how you had that option to do that one thing, but you never did do that one thing that you wanted to. On the flip side though, if you did do that one thing you wanted to, you probably feel fulfilled and are satisfied with your world. With all that being said, I think I have a thesis statement for this experiment. Creative freedoms are not only a key for a longevitous game, but they are also a key for a player's general fulfillment. Thank you for giving me around 10 minutes of your time on this beautiful day. I'm not gonna lie, I really think this is my best work yet, and hopefully it'll only keep getting better. With that being said, if you want to see better content, then you should definitely subscribe, because every upload I make is better than the last. All jokes aside, like, subscribe, comment, share, whatever you feel like you could do to help me out. And also, don't forget to check out my boy Daffy #9351 on Discord. He gave me a cherry coke at school to superpower me as to finish my videos. Anyways, I hope to see you all next video, and thank you so much for watching my stuff and helping me out.